right, welcome everybody to another episode of The Real Talk with Ryan Madrid. It's actually Real Talk with Ryan Madrid, because my sister will correct me. Thank you to VIP Mortgage for allowing us to have this beautiful space here for our podcast. Thank you to Trey, our engineer, and Trisha Madrid, who does the production, and she does a lot more than that for the Stuart Crawford team here at VIP Mortgage. Again, we are a mortgage company, but we do these podcasts for not just the real estate industry. It's about people doing cool stuff in the business or in business, nonprofit work, entrepreneurs, and it just so happens today that we have an entrepreneur that happens to do work in the real estate business, but he also does stuff outside of the real estate business. So welcome everybody, Jon Storey. Hey, clap, 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 clap. So I've known Jon for a long time. So probably 8 years, coming up on 8 years now, which is crazy. When we first met, we just talked about, we met in a barbershop, but we knew of each other, but we met in a barbershop on 67th Avenue in Happy Valley. Right. And he was with First Arizona Title at the time. I believe you were there at that time, right?
Almost there.
Almost
yeah.
there.
Yeah.
And he was doing title, doing coaching, which kind of leads into what we're doing today at this point. And I was just getting rolling in the mortgage business. And so if you don't know Jon, Jon's gone from starting or from being in the title business, kind of learning the system of what was getting people business, and then just going, you know what, I think I can do this on my own. So today, we're going to talk a lot about that, talk about a little bit about your personal life as well, because I think it's kind of incredible as well. And then dive down into some of the dirty stuff too. So, I mean, dirty meaning, like,
right.
You know what I mean.
Club after this.
We didn't mean that stuff.
College.
We didn't mean that stuff, guys. So let's dive a little bit about in your history though, because you're not from here. You're from Utah, right?
Yeah, I was born in North Dakota, but lived in Utah most of my life.
And so what brought you out to Arizona?
My kid.
Okay.
And my daughter, Macy.
Okay. Was your wife?
She lived here.
Oh,
her mom lived here. We moved down here. Well,
okay.
I moved down here. I want to get out of Utah anyways because culture just wasn't, you're in a bubble. You're either Mormon or you make it or you don't.
Yeah.
No offense to anything, but
it's
it is what it is. I grew up in playing sports, and it's political when you're young too, man.
If you're good at sports, when there's another guy that's a Mormon, he's going to get the job before you, is what you're saying?
Yeah.
We love Mormons.
Yeah. Yeah. Could happen. Yep.
So what got you in the title business?
So I started building homes when I was 12. My biological mother, that I don't talk to anymore, which will be an interesting story for that. Okay. I got my stepmom that's been around my whole life, but she's been a realtor for 30 plus years. And, I tried to go to the medical field, had a little over a semester left to graduate to be a respiratory therapist. Found out I was only going to make six figures and said, fuck it, I'm out. I'm going to find something that can make me more than that I can dictate my pay. So thought about sales. She said title's, pretty consistent no matter what the market is. And, and here I am today.
Right. I mean, it's funny though. I don't think a lot of people know that you can make a ton of money in the title business, by the way.
Yeah.
But there are a lot of title people that we do know. We've had a conversation recently.
I had no idea until I got in this.
You made that much money last year in title.
Right.
Right. And so you started making good money, started having a lot of success. I know you were doing a lot of the business for, I don't want to say that First Arizona doesn't do their own businesses. They do good business. They're great people there. But you were definitely a big part of that business. Yeah. And when you left, there was an effect on that business.
Yeah. I would say so.
Hey, Jon, real quick, can you move your water bottle to the other side of you?
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Thanks.
They're showing up in two cameras. So.
Oh, okay, cool. So when you went to, so what made you decide to do your own thing, by the way?
So I just, you get to that point where you feel like people just don't appreciate you, right? So, I'm doing all these seminars around town. The reps are fucking bitching every time. Oh, you offended a client today, or you said this, or blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, dude, they're just sensitive. And, they didn't really appreciate it, but then they wouldn't grasp it. They wouldn't learn it, and here I am like, so you want me to do your job and you get paid off the people that I just taught to do. It make no sense to me. Even though, they said, hey, we're paying you XYZ amount of money. I was making the same money as a sales rep prior to launching this, which I knew what my income was. And, they were great people there. They just, they had bad leadership at the time. I think they've got better leadership, but, there wasn't a voice to reason, right? It was like, it's their way or the highway, and that's fine. And
that's
however
corporate.
however you want to run it. I mean, great people. but I was taking that shit home with me.
Yeah.
So here I'm pissed. I'm just mad. I think a lot of people in their life do that, and that means you just don't like your job. So you need to find out, do you love yourself first? And at that moment, I didn't love myself. I was mad at the world. I was pissed off at everybody. You're always trying to prove something wrong, that somebody wrong. And so I just went in and just one day and just said, I quit. And they're like, what are you going to do? I'm like, the same shit I'm doing now, but I'm going to do it my way. I'm going to be able to say fuck. I'm going to be able to.
Well, he said he would say fuck when he worked for First Arizona,
right.
Which was also sometimes became a problem. So,
but at the end of the day, like, you got to let people be people. Mm-hmm. And I think today people don't. They just put them in a box and say you've got to live a life a certain way. And it's interesting to me when you think about entrepreneurship or whatever. Most of the people that are taking advice from others are told when they show up, when they get off, and how much they get paid.
Yeah.
That makes no sense to me.
Right.
We have a lot of the friends that, they have a job like that and they're like, oh, I'm doing well. You should be doing this. I'm like, but you're told when you have to show up to work. And if you don't show up, you lose your job, right?
Right.
If I don't show up, I just don't make money.
Right. Well, what's funny about that though, too? It's like, it goes a little bit like the lion's not sheep hat he's wearing, but and that's not a negative connotation. So some people are just, they're better that way with more structure. Right. We have a really good friend that that's a big wig at a big company here, and he flat out told us, he's like, I'm better being with a coach. Like, I do better in life when someone tells me where to go and what to do, and you can still have a high level performance. It's a matter of like, do you really want to go further than that? And some people just really want to go further than that. Like, I think
that's a 1%, right? That's a 1% of the world that does that. The rest of them are all just posting motivational quotes in their stories all day long and then go get fucked up on the weekend, and then Monday comes around again and they're wondering why my life hasn't changed.
This is a big problem with the real estate industry.
Yeah.
Though.
It's the same thing. When you factor time, everybody gets 3.5 to 4 months off a year, and they don't think about that. 2 days off a week, 2 weeks sick, 2 weeks vacation, that's 4 months. Mm-hmm. So you're really only working 8 months for your paycheck. Then take about all the days that you have excuses or shit that rolls down, or, oh my gosh, I broke up with my boyfriend, so now you're not going to work for a month, or I broke up with my girlfriend, not going to work for a month. I go through a divorce, whatever. Then it's interesting.
I've never thought about it like that in terms of.
I'm very analytical on everything I do.
Yeah, he's dove deep. This is where I was going to tell my sister before him, because it's like Jon Storey, for all you people, he can be kind of a dick, come across very aggressive online.
Yeah,
but he's actually a really nice guy.
I'm a teddy bear, bro.
But he's got this hardened persona because he's decided that this is kind of how he wants to run his family and run his life and make sure that the people that he gives a shit about, that he can take care of them. Am I wrong about that?
Yeah, but I think it all starts with my daughter and all the shit she went through.
Yeah, right. So let's talk about that a little bit, because when I first met Jon, he was a single dad. Like I didn't know where his mom was at, but I knew that he was literally just like, it was just him and his daughter. Right. This was before Colette, obviously.
Right, yeah.
So tell us a little bit about that, if you don't mind.
Yeah, so, it's tough. Hopefully I don't cry, because I usually do, man.
Right.
So my kid's 11. And I look at all these people that, talk about why they can't do something, right? Like, oh, I have somebody pass, or most of the time it's money, or I don't have a supportive spouse. So I look at my daughter, she's 11, and it's funny, we had a talk the other day, and I said, if you have a bad day, whose fault's that? She kind of paused, and I said, it's yours. You control your day. Like, you determine if you're going to have a good day or not. And I think most people are like, oh, well, we allowed this to happen.
Right.
So a year ago, almost to date, her biological mother died. So she drank herself to death, drugs, prostitution, you name it. But you look at my daughter now, and she's a sweet kid, smart, straight A's. But when we went through that, she, watched her mom almost drown in a pool, slit her wrist, busted her teeth out, got arrested a few times, couch hopped from place to place until I got full custody of her. Would show up to school and clothes 3 times too big, no fucking lunch. When I finally got her, she slept in my bed for 18 months with night terrors, would wake up screaming. So when I tell people, like, you're trying to give me a line of bullshit about why you can't do something, like, my fucking kid had no choice.
Right.
And a lot of people don't know that story about me because I don't put it out there.
Yeah.
But if that makes people more relatable, like, okay, now I can see why he's the way he is. No, I'm the way that I am because I I just don't want to change. I'm not hard, and people say like I'm hard. No, I'm just real, and that's life. Like if you get a coach and your kid's getting yelled at by their coach to do better, you're encouraging it, right? Mm-hmm. But how come us as adults, when we're like, dude, you're doing that fucking wrong, you're like, oh, well, you know, and you get, you know, you shouldn't talk to me, and you shouldn't be doing this stuff, and you know, you're just an asshole, and blah blah blah. I remember one time I was doing a boot camp, and I was talking about like life and how you want to change, and if you don't look good, you feel good. You know, like I've done a couple bodybuilding shows, and like somebody's like, oh, I think you just called me fat, and I'm like, well, fuck, are you? Like, and this is at the end, like, dude, if you, I mean, like if you're feeling upset about that, you know, right. Like, and you feel that, then change it. Like, right. You have the opportunity to change. And I tell people, like, they're like, oh, no, I don't have that. I'm like, well, then you take my kid and all that stuff. And then my mom used to watch my stepdad beat the shit out of me the entire time I grew up, too.
Right.
So, I mean, you know, what other crutch do you have?
Right.
You know, line them up.
Well, you just have a hardened shell. Right. And that aspect, because, you know, it's just like.
Well, survival.
Yeah, survival. You're just like, your story's not that bad.
No.
Not yours, but like the next person, right? Everybody's got their story. Mm-hmm. And I think do you ever get into that when in your coaching, like when you're trying to help people build their brand and their life, do you dive into that with them and say like, dude, you've got a story. Everybody's got some story. It's not going to be this impactful probably, but everybody's got a story that they can tell a little bit to make themselves relatable. Do you ever do that?
Yeah, I think there's too many people online that just put their shit out there like they're the greatest thing since sliced bread. Like everybody has marriage problems, you know, relationship problems.
Yeah.
You know, kids, whatever, you know, you could have been abused when you were younger. I don't know. But I mean, you know, I have a guy that signed up for coaching, and he lost his leg in a motorcycle accident from being drunk. And now he tells about the story and kind of makes jokes of it. And his business is boomed because people are like, dude, this is a real guy that's not bullshitting about what happened to him in his life, but has changed his life. I would like to work with someone like that, you know? And I mean, when people get to know me, like when I get on stage and I tell, you know, why I'm kind of the way that I am, I kind of come with the caution tape. The reason I do is because of my kids. You know, I want to lead by example, and it's kind of how it rolls.
Well, you're obviously a really good dad. I mean, and of course, this is all social media too.
Yeah, I love my kids, man. I love them.
You do a good job of promoting that, but you are a good dad, and I know you're a good dad.
Yeah. You got 3?
I got 3.
Yeah. Dude, I remember going back when you were gonna get when Colette was pregnant,
right?
And I remember I don't remember exactly how it went down, but your daughter, when she found out that she was going to be a sister, she was going to have a sister and have like a family.
Right.
Like that, that was like super, I'm getting the little.
Yeah.
It was very emotionally like charged.
Yeah.
And that was
people that knew me. Yeah.
That was a really cool deal too, because, you know, she was looking for something too, right? Like, oh my God, like a normalcy in life.
Yeah. I mean, it's tough, man. It's a hard thing to talk about when you're a kid, you know?
Yeah.
I mean, you just, I always thought that it would just be her and I for forever.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, you get shafted by everybody that you know, that you think that has your back, and you talk in your circle, and they're talking behind your back. And, you know, it's a different world that we live in. And, you know, I don't want that for my kids. And when she met Colette, it was good. Colette's a good person, you know?
Yeah.
I mean, you know, we've had our problems. It's our anniversary actually today.
Hey, happy anniversary.
How many years?
But she let me, you know, our 4 years. So we got a fruit thing going. I guess 4 years fruit. But,
is it fruit?
Yeah.
Well, you're really good with the damn freaking flowers and stuff like that too.
Well, there's a story behind that. Okay. So, yeah, that's from my daughter Savannah. That's why there's flowers always at my house.
Really?
Mm-hmm.
What's the story?
So my daughter Savannah's 4, and for forever I literally would wake up every morning, and I'm consistent on everything I do until I get my way. I'm just that way. It's like a kid, you know, as an adult. It's you know, different than trying to get leads and better your business, right? So every morning I'd wake up and I'd say, are you my babe? And she'd say no. Every day.
Yeah.
Every day. So I come home from a trip, I stop by and I get flowers, and you know, by the time I get home from a speaking engagement, I'm coming in the door, and Colette and I have already planned a date night. And I walk in the door with these flowers, and my daughter's sitting there, and she goes, "Daddy, for me?" And I'm like, "Am I your babe?" She goes, "Yeah, you're my babe." So I've just nonstop giving her flowers, and I'm like, "So if I bring you flowers every week, can I be your babe?" She's like, "Yeah." Like, so even though she knew that it was our anniversary today, I brought, I had 30 roses that I have in the house right now. When I brought them home yesterday, she runs upstairs to my wife and she goes, Daddy got me flowers because I'm her babe. You know, I'm his babe. She's like, but I know they're for you, Mommy. You know, like,
yeah.
So, I mean, it's just,
that's cool.
I don't know. It's just cool shit. You know, have a relationship. You know, I don't think people have relationships with their kids like they should. You know, I mean, it's just interesting to me.
Dude, and as you know, dude, it's like having relationships with your kids is super important, and it's also like a relationship with your spouse or your significant other. Sometimes it's really shitty too.
I've been through that, man. I thought we were going to get a divorce, bro. I'm not even kidding you. You know, I mean,
it's tough stuff, and I mean, our kids are older, and dude, man, it's like I love them to death, but sometimes they're just like, man, it's like. Sometimes you're gonna get a divorce from your kid too.
Yeah, I mean, I thought my son when I was leaving today, I was like, this little asshole. I'm like, you know,
exactly. And she's how old is she? 11.
That's 11, Macy, but my son's 2, and he's just like, he's already at that age where he just wants to take people's heads off. He just is, you know, he's a boy.
Right. Exactly. Wait till Macy's 11 or 13.
Yeah.
Seems like that day things changed a little bit.
I think it changes more rapidly now because she's on her phone all the time, FaceTiming her friends, talking about drama and everything.
Oh yeah, it's insane, dude. Let's talk a little bit about how much shit you got when you left first Arizona, and you said I'm going to start my own company, and the haters that came along with that, and let's talk a little bit about how difficult it actually really was.
I mean, you know, number one, I'm excited, okay, because I'm launching my own thing. I'm like thinking like, oh, I'm going to do my own thing. And the first week, you know, I'd maxed out, you know, $60,000 worth of credit cards, took out all my money, my 401k, lost 14 grand 5 days into my company. Thought I needed a business partner. It was full of shit, so I got rid of him within the first thing. Spent $45,000 on attorneys, setting up my company, right, LLCs, all that stuff. And then you come down to it, and you know, I've got $300 left in my bank account. My wife is 3 months from having my son being born. And I'm thinking, I'm like, what in the fuck did I just do? I had this,
and she's thinking the same thing. By the way.
She didn't know. I didn't tell her because I didn't want to make stress on her. I just acted like everything was great, you know. And then it just started hitting, right? And you find out, like, you know, the things you need to build. And then, you know, with the haters, it's kind of like, you know, when I did the stuff here and did, you know, the title stuff or whatever, people were like, oh, yeah, does this shit really work, blah, blah, blah. And so at my point, I'm just thinking like, well, it's time to put my money where my mouth is. And I'm going to show you, I'm going to build $1 million company in a year, and I'm going to work 3 to 4 hours a day doing it. I'm going to back up everything that I've ever said.
Right.
Well, 3 years later, I'm still hearing it, still growing. Motherfuckers that are listening.
Hey, 3 to 4 hours a day after he'd built it and grown it. Right. Now he's 3 to 4 hours a day.
It took me 9 months of just like figuring out the best solution. I think in anybody that's running a business, here is the absolute best thing you can do. And this goes for any entrepreneur. If your client has a question, write it down. Because 90% of the content that goes out there into the universe, no one ever asked you about consistently, right? So that's why I have over 370 plus training videos on anything. Why? Because if one client has it, there might be 10 other ones. It might not appease to everybody, but I want to make sure that I'm covering all my, you know, the groundwork that I need. And I think a lot of people as entrepreneurs or whatever, they're going, well, this is how I feel that it needs to be done. Well, that's not necessarily true.
Yeah.
Why don't you get your low hanging fruit, and then you get into your big fruit, and then once you build out what you have, like what I have coming up, you can broker bigger deals. But yeah, I mean, the haters, dude, they just lined up around. I just called them my admirers. I'm just like, you know, because I'm doing it my way, and you know.
Well, I think that it's actually very, very, very smart, and we talked a little bit about that before. It's like the easiest way to build content. Like, right, you have people watching all your videos, and all of a sudden one of them sends you a message, hey dude, well, how about this? And all of a sudden, boom, I'm going to fill another video, and now it's going to be another element to my content, and now it's just like it's growing. But
nobody does it.
Well, I'm going to start doing that.
In real estate, I mean, that's what I tell my clients. I said, if they have a question, write it down, put it on YouTube. Why would you put it on TikTok looking like an idiot, pointing at the sky, not even speaking to somebody? YouTube's the #1 search platform, and Google owns it.
Yeah.
And #1, you have a training course if you build it out correctly of where you start, clear expectations, client interviews, whatever you're trying to do. It just doesn't make sense to me how these realtors, what they're doing is they're getting misinformation, right? And, you know, did I say in my career have I gotten some misinformation? Yeah, I've probably done things, but I fixed it correctly. Where you got a lot of these social media gurus or whatever, they don't even know what they're talking about, right? And okay, then tell me that you've taken a team from 15
Well, John was a
transactions
social
to 100.
media guru too for a while, by the way.
I still am. Shit ain't changed. Algorithms have never changed. You build out the right audience, you can make as much money as you want. But I think that's the wrong thing is there's so many people out there trying to make money and capitalize on this that what they're doing is they're reading a book or listening to Gary Vaynerchuk and regurgitating their shit, right? Like Snapchat and all this other shit's not going to save your life, right? You know, or Reels are not going to save your life. Correct content, systems, checklists, and efficiency. I mean, that's
so. Let's back
game
up a little bit to like. So when you went to go do this and build out your because your website is really nice and it's well done. So like, who did you go to help you with all that sort of shit? Because there's no way you just knew how to create it.
I built mine first. I taught myself how to build websites.
You did
by myself. YouTube.
Wow.
Great fucking platform. And then I got with one of my buddies out of Vegas, and he does all my stuff now that builds it all out. Because, you know, you read a book. If you guys are always struggling trying to figure out, and if you're broke, I get it. But if you have a little bit of change, and I'd read a book called Who Not How. It's a great book called Who Not How. It talks about how people are who in your life and how you're the how. Mm-hmm. And if you're not the expert at something, like, you know, that's why you go to mechanic shop, right? Mm-hmm. That's why, you know, you're not flying the airplane. You know, that's why, you know, you go to fancy restaurants to make that certain course because you're not exactly sure how to do it, right? So it's the who, not how. So if you figure out who not how to your business plan, you're indestructible, right? And that also comes to the who, not hows, like who use your circle, who do you talk to, who do you give your time to?
Is that where you like learn to like, all right, I need to eliminate people from my life that aren't bringing value to my life?
Well, it comes back to the hater thing. So I was at lunch with my good buddy Jon Gafford, and he was sitting there. He's like, dude, what's wrong? And I'm like, man, fuck, dude. Like, you can't win for losing. Like, I have all these friends that have been, you know, a part of my life and my wedding and all this other stuff. And I'm like, and all they want to do is just talk shit and like say whatever, you know? Mm-hmm. But they don't want their shit out on the street, right?
Right.
And that's what's funny, interesting about people is like they'll run their mouth about all that stuff, but like, well, why don't we air your shit too that I know, you know?
Right.
I mean, you know, I don't really think
He's
you
not
want to
talking
say
about
that. No, but so here's what he said. He said, I will give you the absolute best advice. You can take it, you can leave it, but it'll change your life. And he goes, so at this point, I'm making like 33 grand a month in revenue. Right. Mm-hmm. And I just had started my company, which is pretty good for starting your company, right? Of net profit that much.
That's not bad.
And so he goes, go on your phone, find all the people that you talk to on a consistent basis. Mm-hmm. And this goes for anybody in life that'll change your life. And he said, typically, so I had 10 people. 8 of the 10 people had never texted me in the last 90 days, especially when I built my company, how can I help you?
Right.
The only 2 people that texted me, which is weird, Jon Gafford and Bradley. That's it. And those were new guys in my relationships, but they knew that I had the drive, I had the effort, I had the ambition, I had the haters, I had the when they told me something I could do it. And those 2 were like the only ones that texted me. And I'm like, here's lifelong friends that I thought that I had, or people that I'd helped in the industry grow their business too. Yeah. And not one time, hey, how can I help you?
Right.
It was, what can you do for me?
Right.
It was really interesting. So that day, stop talking to him. It's like cold turkey, quitting smoking. It was the best shit I've ever done. And I've lived by it now for, you know, almost over 3 years, I would say, pretty close. And it's the game changer, man. And
it's funny, like I remember one day you did a workshop in here, and I can't remember who was with you that day, but I remember one of the guys in the group, he has a really good job of like calling people out on stuff. And you were asking like, who did this, and this? And like, you pointed to the guy and you're like, he was like, no, I didn't do it. And you're like, why? He's like, well, you're like, why didn't you do it? And it was like, you know, a group of, typically you don't see that in like a real estate workshop, you know, that's happening over here. And I'm just like, they're going, I'm looking around the room going, God, people are just cringing right now, right? Just going, holy shit, don't call me. But those are the same people that probably won't come back to you, but the ones that want that in their life, they want to be held accountable.
Right.
I mean, are the ones that are going to
more,
succeed.
Yeah.
Because the ones that don't really want that, they're the ones that just aren't going to succeed. They're just not going to do it because they don't want anybody asking them why they didn't do it.
Right.
Which means
accountability. It's accountability. I mean, you know, and now all the realtors years later are like, I struggle with accountability and consistency. You know, I go in a room all the time and I'm like, who struggles with consistency? And they're like, oh, I do. I'm like, no, you don't. You're consistent at being inconsistent, so you win.
Right.
You're winning. You're winning the day.
Right.
But I mean,
do you ever come in like a sweet, positive way, or are you always just kind of like hard on people, hard on your clients?
I think that if you coddle them, they're going to expect for you to be coddled. I mean, I'm a kind person. I give hugs. I'm always nice. I'm chill.
Yeah.
But when I'm in coaching mode, there's no hold bars. I mean, like you didn't sign up and you didn't pay me for me to be like, you know what? It's going to be okay. Tomorrow's another day. No, find out what the fuck you did wrong today.
Yeah.
So you don't do it again tomorrow.
Mm-hmm.
You know?
Have you ever coached youth sports?
Yeah, I've done a little bit of football. Yeah.
And, do you adjust your approach to coaching with
Yeah, turn her up a little bit, Trey.
I mean, obviously, you're not going to drop the fuck bomb on them 100% a million times, but and I would say at that age they're a little bit more, and it depends on the age demographic too, because they always say the parents that always think their kid's the star and they don't make the team, and it's like, dude,
the parents are the ones that need to be.
The reason that 87% of every child after the age of 13 does not excel in sports, they got to make the team, right? Now it's the same thing in real estate. 90% of realtors aren't successful. Why? Because they're too soft. They don't want to have somebody that tells you why you didn't do that. Don't tell me why you're broke.
Yeah.
I had some agent the other day, or not a date, but a couple of years ago, he's like, oh, you're just a little harsh and you're this. I'm like, well, dude, at the end of the day, like, how bad do you want it? Like you said you wanted to be, and you're posting how great you are, but you have no deals.
Yeah.
So you don't want it that bad.
All right.
I want it that bad. And one of the things, the eye-opening experiences for me was how, as a parent, do you look at your kids and tell them to do more when you won't?
Yeah.
Like if your kid's an asshole, it's because you allowed them to be one.
Right.
If your kid's failing out of school or not doing anything, you allowed that to happen. You just swept it under the rug till it got bad enough to where you were like, okay, let's fix it now. Yep. When I didn't sweep it under the rug when my daughter was going through the shit she went through. I fucking fought for full custody so she didn't have to deal with that.
Right.
The problem is most people have been like, oh, well, they're a little, people might be like, oh, he's a little rough around the edges. Well, yeah, but you're also a dipshit that doesn't know what you're supposed to do every day. So I'm here to fucking fix it. You want to make that happen or not? Okay, you don't, then leave.
Right. If they hire you to do that, then you should do that. Say they didn't hire you to do that and you were just like, you met them like they were a friend of a friend. You're just John. You're just
I'm
John,
chill.
nice
I'm
guy.
just chill. Yeah, I'm just chill.
John,
Yeah.
nice guy.
Yeah, but do you take, for example, my client that now will close over 100 transactions. They've been with me just a couple of years. I do the personal coaching with them. I was hard on them. I'm hard on them. Every time I'm hard on them. Mm-hmm. But you think they're pissed off now that they're going to make,
Yeah, a lot of money.
Yeah. And it's the win. But here's the problem in the real estate community that I feel is that they constantly will post, I put this house under contract. Oh, look at me in the office at what number I am. Mm-hmm. Look how much volume I did. Oh, look at me, look at how much, all this stuff. And I'm like, at the end of the day, I'm like, well, dude, did you win or did your clients win? Because last time I checked, this was the biggest transaction of their kind of life.
Right.
And you're making a theatrical production about how, look at the fucking award. Like I got nominated for this top 75 or whatever that came out. And I don't want to be on the fucking list because half those people are fucking a joke. Okay. Right. So take my name off because I would never want my name. But now back when I started, I was like, oh, this is really cool.
Right.
Because, the ego and the subtle art of not giving a fuck, that's another great book that I would read. There's a chapter about it. So it was the fear of rejection, right? Our egos are fed by, and in real estate, everybody's petting people. No, you're just someone's bitch. That's what it is. If you have to pay for business and pay for, dude, give them value and then don't have to pay for it, right? I didn't pay for business.
Well, I think we at the beginning, we both were very much at places doing things, dressing up, looking nice, and going places because we liked being, looked at and talked about and all that sort of shit too. And I think one of the greatest things that I love about Stuart, my business partner, is he refuses to let us put our numbers on. Like we've never done that. We've never said, okay, we've done. We do a lot of business.
Yeah, you do.
We've never said, hey, check out our numbers. Guess what the production was this month? The biggest agent that I know in this town does it every month. Like, oh my God, hey, we just closed this much this month and stuff. And I get it that from a recruiting standpoint, it attracts people to maybe want to come over. So there's, for that reason, it might somebody go, okay, well, if they're doing all that stuff, maybe I want to talk to them. But if it's just an ego grab, then it just doesn't do anything. But that's evolution of people too, and it's learning. So let's talk about who's your coach and your mentor, because somebody's got to be on your ass too. Then,
yeah. So I've got 3 of them.
Okay.
One's 11, one's 4, and one's 2.
Yeah.
And
they're like, Dad, what are you doing today? Why are you home?
No, man. You know what? You come to a point where you're able to sit with some of the elite people, and they do help and they do mentor me. But it's interesting that when they tell me to do something, I don't question it.
Yeah.
I think a lot of people ask people questions and are like, well, why?
Yeah.
Well, dude, you just asked me a question of how to be better, and I just told you how to do it. So go fucking do it, because that's why I make hundreds of millions of dollars and you don't.
Right.
But if you want to get there, this is what you do. I remember I just had an overview on like my website, my training platform, some other systems that I built. But months prior, I went and had a meeting, and they told me to do all these lists. Well, I literally built an entirely new website.
Yeah.
And so when they pulled it up, they're like, dude, this is all like new and stuff. I'm like, yeah. They're like, what? I'm like, you told me to do that.
Right. Yeah.
Like I don't just sit here and take your.
Yeah.
So this is where I factor in time. People are just time takers, and time is the most valuable thing, right? So when I coach my stuff and I'm talking about systems and time, like, how do you really want to live your life? Because when you look at the average person that retires at 60 something years old, they only got a few years left to live. I'm living my best life.
Yeah.
I travel all the time. I play golf all the time, but you have to make a point to where you make enough money to where you have what that word. So people say, what makes you successful? Freedom.
Yeah.
Freedom.
Absolutely.
I can do whatever I want.
Dude, I heard so one of my coaches he said something to me years ago that I love to tell other people about this, because especially if they have kids. He's like, all right, Ryan, you're 40. I'm 47 now, right? Almost 48. And I think I was 42 probably then. And he's just like, all right, well, think about this. Say you live to, you're 50, that would be sad. But he goes, you have 18 more summers with your son.
Yep. I have 18 summers. Yeah, I know how that
he's
is.
like,
yeah.
you have 18 more summers to go do stuff with, like go do
Right.
things, like 18 more Christmases. Like
Right.
that's not that much, dude.
No.
So if you choose to like do something else besides going to do the thing that you should be doing with your kids, your family, well, now you have 17.
That's why I built what I have, And you say, do I have coaches? Yeah, I have coaches. I have coaches in everything.
You
that
have
I
mentors too, right?
I would say I'm more of like, I have mentors. Like for fitness, I have coaches that I've changed my lifestyle. I'm way different. Like for golf coaching, like one of my buddies is a swing coach and he does fitness stuff too. I don't take him to hit off the mats. He's playing on the course with me, because
totally.
It's a completely different vibe, right? And people won't do that, but I'll pay more for that.
For sure.
If I want to be better, I'm going to learn from the best, right?
Right.
And so I don't feel I'm the best at what I do. I feel I'm really good at what I do to help people understand where they can, but you have to drop the ego at the door. I mean, there's so many realtors I'll meet and they just think like they're the greatest thing since sliced bread, because their volume says that. Their ROI doesn't say that because they're spending a ton of money to do that. But then I also ask, I said, well, tell me about your personal life.
Yeah.
Like what time do you wait? How often do you spend time with your kids? Let me ask you another question. When you're in the car with your kids and a client calls you, do you answer the call? It's a great question, right? Do you? Every time a client calls, do you answer the call?
Everybody knows I don't.
Yeah.
I don't.
I don't. I used to.
No.
I used to. And what I found is that, my
if it's a few people, I'll answer. Because
I don't ever answer. This is my wife. But I don't. And the reason is that 99% of people in the world are not present in anything they do. And you go to a dinner and you'll see people on their phones and they're looking at it. Just means the person across from you is not that fucking entertaining.
Yep. But dude, here's another thing too. It's like, and I know this stuff, and I sit there. I'll do that at dinner. I'll be sitting there and I'll look around and I'll notice and I'll be like, ugh. And then all of a sudden I'll be like, and then I go, holy shit, well, I'm not perfect. I know that much. But sometimes I get caught doing that shit too.
You are perfect. You know that.
All right.
Oh my God, we don't need any more of that.
Say it back. Say it back.
Hey,
say it back.
You're perfect. You're all perfect, guys. Hey, so, all right, let me just talk a little bit about the program, though, because I'm so interested in how this system works. Like, so if someone signs up with you, like, start from, like, as much as you can from start to finish, like how it works.
Yeah, so I did have a coach when I was in title to help me doing stuff. And he said, if you leave, you know, because I was doing that, he's like, just get 40 people to pay you $1,000 a month and you'll make 40 grand a month. And, and that's a good living, right? Yeah. $500,000, right? So I'm like, that's a stupid fucking idea. And he looked at me like, how is that a stupid idea when I just showed you how to make $500,000? I don't want to work 40 hours a week. Right?
Yeah.
So then the other philosophy is, and anybody listening to this, how do you be everywhere at once to take free rent? So no matter if they're a hater or a referral partner, they're talking about you, right? So when you say all these haters, no, bro, they were free marketing reps for me because the people they're talking to are now drawn to what I'm actually doing and have now followed my trend for over the last years and are realizing, holy shit, they made it. So thank you for buying my Lamborghini that I didn't have to run ads on. So that's why I don't run ads, just so you know. I get free rent in everybody's head. So the way I looked at it is when I first launched it, I had a private Facebook group and I had like 40 training videos in it, right? Right away. Now I got 370 plus. I had more that were coming. I'm just like, oh, I'm going to slow release this.
Yeah.
Well, as clients would come on, they're like, hey, where do I start? And I'm like, oh shit. So I'm having to tag all these people in the synopsis. And then, you know, in the group, the more lives you do, the more content you do, then it's all just chaos. So then I went on to this other platform. I'm not going to name it. Buddy Brad would always give me shit about it, right? And it was just a video hosting, but it was a good training platform. Yeah. You could see how many people were on it, give them access. And then, you know, for the fee that I charged, I decided, I'm like, you know, I'm going to do it better because people would say, hey, we want notes. We want to be able to start word on. We want a better app. It needs to be cleaner, blah, 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 blah. So I'm listening. And then I go my buddy Brad Lee's platform. And you know, they're like, wow, you did that. Even for the small fee that they pay, you know, so, you know, right now it's at, you know, for $1,500 a year, I'm guaranteeing you 18 transactions a year and you won't do it and pull the trigger. That's crazy to me. Right. And, you know, obviously one-on-one's more. So then I said, well, here's the problem. And you look at anything, and this is how consumers are the same way, this is why the iBuyer campaigns can come in, the Zillow, the Open Door, the offer pads, is because when a realtor feels they're off the clock, they have nothing that's going to answer the questions that their clients would have, right? So my clients, that's why I have so many training videos. It could be that they work 10 o'clock at night and now they want to start watching a video, or they want to catch up on a video, or they want to learn how to build out, you know, Facebook or lead follow-up or lead gen or onboarding clients or Instagram or video, or hey, they're getting ready to sit in open house. They need to watch the training. And so instead of trying to find it, they just go to the category open house. They have their notes. It's built out. So here's how it is. So I said, the reason I do one-on-ones is because when I first started my coaching, this is a consultation I had with Gafford. He goes, tell me about your day. Tell me about your week. This is why I say, do you have mentors? Yes, absolutely. I said, well, dude, I'm taking like 30, 40 calls. Are you charging for those calls? He goes, I'm like, no. He goes, that's stupid because your business plan is not built that way. It's a subscription base to be ask questions in the group, and they've got training and the stuff. They're trying to get the quick fix. Those 30 to 40 people that are calling you will never make it in the industry. You know what's funny is that they're not in the industry anymore.
Wow.
And it's interesting how people that make money. So
it's because they wouldn't go look at the videos.
They're just where everybody wants the quick fix, right? Everybody that asks me, they're like, how fast does it work? I'm like, I don't know how smart you are. I don't know how you work. I don't know what your dedication. I don't know what your pipeline is. I don't know any of that. So you want me to open up? Have I paid people that gotten deals in the first month? Yeah, I've had people that have gotten 11. You know, you know, that's the most that I've had in like a 2-week span. Right. And they were brand new, but obviously they've gotten low hanging fruit. So you never know. But the most people that I've had, I've quadrupled people. But so then I factor that, I build out this new site, and then I started doing one-on-one coaching. Right. So I started charging for that. So when people would call me that normally would call me, I'd say, hey, you're going to have to pay me a fee. Right. And I had one guy who's like, I've been paying you, you know, almost up to, you know, year, and like, you know, this should be worth a call. And I said, hey, you know what's great about this is that you don't have to be a client of mine anymore. So I'm discontinuing your service and have a nice fucking day. Like I can understand. Yes, absolutely. I did. And I just said at this point, like, dude, the amount of value that I gave you for what you're doing, and I said, and it's always been, you could have just asked me the question in the group and I've been more than happy to, but you know, they're very condescending in our real estate industry that you have to do this for me or I'm going to go somewhere else. Yeah. Okay, well, that's fine. Then go. I mean, I may not be the coach for you. Right. But if you want my time, so here's the other thing that Gafford told me. He said, just tell them, hey, you're going to charge them, you know, $300 for 30 minutes. And if they say no, then say, hey, thanks for not wasting my time. Now it's obvious I charge quite a bit more, but that's where you're really kind of following your value. So I'm not worth 300, but yet you're willing to take my time, but yet you want to get paid 12 grand to sell a house that you don't even know how to. Right. That's why the market's shifting, right? That's why realtors aren't paying attention to that. Their percentages are continually dropping. They're not getting 3% on everything anymore. No. They're going to start paid like what lenders are getting paid, you know, back in the good faith estimate time. But Yeah, I mean, so I just adapted with my clients, and now I got a really good platform that walks people through from anything they want to do. You know, from past client relationship, building out the right audience, social media, digitally, traditionally, it doesn't matter. But now I can be everywhere at once. But now, if they have a question, just go into the group, type in the search box. Here's a category that walks you through how to do it. It's like a YouTube,
Right?
But privately,
Frequently asked questions.
So,
Yeah.
John, do you work with people outside of the real estate industry?
Yeah, I've done consulting for businesses and things like that. Anybody that wants to learn how to, build out the correct audience and do social media correctly. Yeah, lead follow-up, lead gen, tracking, how Excel spreadsheets can really simplify your life.
Well, we talked a little bit about that in there. He's not a big CRM guy as well, by the way. He just does everything on Excel.
So let's talk about CRMs, right?
Okay.
Let's talk about the real estate CRMs.
Yeah.
So I'd ask you a question. How many emails have you gotten today that you haven't read?
1,164.
But let's talk about how many social media posts have you read? How many stories have you looked at?
God, a lot.
Right. So when you look at a contact relationship management system, right?
Yeah.
The content that people give to you is not what you want. Like when you look at real estate, here's a market update. Here's what's going on in the neighborhood. There's nothing of value that comes through that. Now, back in the day when emails were new, people all looked at them, right? That's how Gary Vaynerchuk made his money and did his thing, right? But now you look at it and you say, then you look at the touches. So their relationship management system is doing the 1 day a month touch, right? And then the birthday cards and then the anniversary cards. I'm like, that's cute. So no one's reading your emails. And this is where I'm going to go with this of what I did with the team. So I had this team, did all the same things when they hired me for one-on-one. I said, so you're doing all the shit that doesn't really work, right? And they were posting, they were doing stuff, but they were just kind of lazy about it, not creating a correct target list. That's why I like Excel, because I can sort it within a second. CRM, you got to export it, or you got to see, then you got to put your notes. Well, dude, I can put notes on everything I want, Xbox, whatever I'm trying to do, right? So it's faster. I time everything that I do. And so I go to this team. They're probably only going to close about 9 million the first year I had them. I got them to 16 million. They went there. I said, dude, do you have an all about you form about your stuff? They're like, yeah, I put it in CRM. I'm like, well, what do you have in there? What questions are they asking? I'm like, so they're just asking about like kind of their wants and needs and simple stuff. So you really don't know how data, and you don't have a private Facebook group where you can host all your past clients in, do more things of that. So they said, all right. So they went back to
That's actually a really good idea.
So follow this on the lending side or real estate side. I say, go back and do this all about you form. So they went back to all these clients. They'd only gotten through a few letters, and they're like pissed at this point. They all had the same common question. Are you still doing real estate?
Right.
That's scary.
That is scary.
And I don't see any of your content.
Right.
Okay. So all the things that they think are marketing for it. So they backtrack. So, they close strong. We add 7 million to the pipeline because they hired me halfway through the year. So they finished at 16.8. We'll finish at 32 million. So I doubled their business from last year to this year again.
Jesus.
And you know what they didn't do? The stupid shit that everybody else tells them to do in coaching. Go email your people. Go run ads. Go run this. Go blah blah.
Are you a big phone guy? Like,
no. Well, I don't ever answer my phone. So here's the thing: is like how. So that's a great question. Like, how do you close someone without getting them on the phone? But if you get them on the phone, you should have 80% of the problem already answered, correct? And in real estate, they don't. So like if you had, videos about here's where we start, here's what you need, here's what the first steps are, blah, 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 blah. And you see how you advertise to push them to a website that's correctly built, or push them to a YouTube channel. When they get on the phone, guess what they're going to have? Data to say, hey, I watched your video. I know what I need. Now where do we go? Right? So people will like, oh, I see your website. Tell me a little bit more. I'm like, did you watch the videos? And they're like, no, watch them. Then call me. But if that doesn't close you for the fee that I charge, I don't want you as a client. So that's why I had the process of elimination, right? If people aren't going to take the time to learn what you already have out there and what your value is, and then they're wanting more, okay, well then pay for more. That's how I got the one-on-ones. But if you look at the industry as a whole, like I would ask any guys, do you have a video that walks them through? Do you have a checklist for everything? Do you have an email that goes out and says, please, if you've watched this video, respond, chart that stuff to know that when they say, hey, you never told me that. Yeah, you watched this video on this date at this time. You responded. Here's the email. Let me re-forward that to you. See, no one in the industry does that, right? And the ones, my clients that are doing that, we don't lay out clear expectations in anything we do. And I think that comes back to the relationship that we have with ourselves. We think everybody's a great person and we all have great attributes, I would say. Like, you'd say, right. I've got a harsh, I don't really give a fuck what people think about me, and I don't think anybody should. But the problem is people do.
Yeah.
But to the consumer, like, simplify the process. So if all these questions you're getting and you don't have content to answer the questions, guess what? Your business will never grow. And that's why people have to buy leads. That's why they have to take a 35% cut to go, or 50 or 60% to go on teams, because they don't have systems. They don't have accountability. Dude, if you build this out, it's like clockwork. So that's how I work the 3 hours, because all my shit's online. You want to know what it is? It's automatically, if you sign up right now. There could be 1,000 people signing up on my phone right now. I wouldn't have to touch a single thing.
That's what I was going to ask you. So going back to your spreadsheet, how many of the people that actually are your clients do you ever talk to?
14
people.
Because the rest of them, I
Out of
talk to them in a
hundreds.
private group, because they do a personal coaching. I mean, they'll like my stuff, comment, or respond to a direct message. But at the end of the day, is like the value that people don't see. People think that money is the most important thing. Time is the most important thing, because if you can learn how to get time back, you'll make as much money as you possibly can. And there will be limits. But I just also want to tell people this, right? So I have over the 450 plus clients currently, the 14 one-on-ones.
Yeah.
Do podcasts. I travel all over, do the speaking engagements. I do, you know how many employees I have that work for me?
None.
I'm efficient.
Yeah.
And so when people, because I want to practice what I preach, right?
Yeah.
And I think a lot of people, where they get those 2 or 3 deals in escrow, they're all, how it is. Oh my God, there's chaos.
Yeah.
I got a team when I first coached up. They were, they get 4 or 5, and it was like a panic drill, bro. They're like, oh
yeah.
my God. Now
Right.
they called me the other day. They put 7 deals in escrow over the weekend, 15 deals in escrow currently right now. And they're like, what else is next?
Yeah.
Because you build a routine. It's like, you're a gym guy. I'm a gym guy, but I don't do it like I used to. But when I first get it, you get sore,
Me
right?
neither.
You get sore, right?
Yeah.
I just do enough to do the flexibility stuff to be able to play golf and do that.
Yeah.
But it's find their winning routine. And people say, oh, my morning routine. No, you should have a routine and a check off list for everything that you do. Mm-hmm. And that's what I do. I do the same shit. I've never changed on what I've done. And the problem is that we will change to adapt to somebody to appeal their wants and needs. But at what point do you put yourself first for your wants and needs?
Yeah. Trish.
It's time for a rapid fire question.
Okay.
Okay.
This is really good, by the way.
Well, thanks, man.
Oh, you mean
You're
the show?
welcome. Yeah.
Yeah. I figured, I was telling John before you got in, it was the fastest pre-interview I'd ever had.
Yeah,
After like 5
that's what she
minutes,
said.
I was like,
She's like, we'll be fine.
Yeah,
He
like-
said, we'll be fine.
I'm like, it's going to be
Do you know
good,
why
but,
it
like,
was?
Nothing.
Do you know why it was?
Why?
I had one of my mentors, and he goes, if they have me fill out a questionnaire and haven't looked up the shit that I do, I'm not going on their fucking podcast.
Yeah.
Oh, you wouldn't
'Cause
believe the research we do.
There's no reason to go on. You're asking me, I'm not asking you.
Yeah.
And you guys did a great job, by the way. I will say that.
Thank
Appreciate
you.
that.
Fabulous.
Thank
It's
you.
all her.
Yeah, she did a great job.
All right, question.
Yeah.
What advice would you give a high schooler?
Stop trying to fit in. Stop trying to fit the mold of what you were taught. Stop trying to fit the mold of what these teachers were teaching you, because they're, I think in school they're taught wrong. I mean, they should be learning how to, balance a checkbook and chase their dreams and work on their ambitions. Because the way I look at it, school is like, elementary school, you learn English, middle school, you learn English, high school, you learn English, math, it goes. College, you go to do the same shit. It's just, higher level education. People come out of college and very few of them make well into 6 figures, unless you're a doctor or something. But the way that people are making money. But I would say, and I think it comes down to the parenting too, man. Like, oh, you need to go to college because you need to have a stable job. But you look at what COVID did to people. Okay, so the people that have gone to school, a lot of them lost their job that were management, because of what they found is that they created anxiety for people that worked in a room. So a lot of companies have not come back. They let them work from home. Why? Because there's software that was built during COVID to realize that their percentage went up 30%, right? So I tell somebody, I'd be like, whatever your interest is, find out what that is, and you can make $1 million out of it. You know what I mean? And it's very true, because there are millionaires that have done that, right? So if you like be a mechanic, then go be a mechanic. But if you do not do the things that you like to do, you'll always hate yourself in the long run. You'll look back on it. And I did for 37 years of my life, dude. I just thought that I was doing the right things because that's what society told me. Well, look at fucking society right now, right? We're a lot of weird fuckers out there. But it's kind of like Here's a great example, right? My daughter's 11, so you'd say high school or whatever, but she's like, my teacher told me that she wants to do a report on socialism to build a town. I said, with all the fucking shit we got going on, that's what we're going to talk about. And I said, why aren't they teaching you like how to chase your dreams, or what are your goals, or how can we work on that? Or like, if you had to build, your ideal life, not why does that word have to play a part? So I went into the office. And I said,
principal's got to love you.
Oh, dude, I got a stack of paperwork this thick of fighting for my kids so they know how I am. So I just sit in there, and my daughter, so here's the way I've always raised my kid. Be honest with me and we'll have the best relationship. You fucking lie to me, we're going to have a bad relationship. So she was honest. She was very concerned that this was not going to better her, which is smart for a kid. So she's actually intellectual compared to a high school. So anything. So we go in there. Vice principal sitting across from me, and I said, my daughter's got a concern about what's going up. I personally, after she told me, which most kids don't tell their parents, I think it's another thing, is lack of communication is why high schoolers don't exceed. Their parents just at that point are like, I just can't wait till they get the fuck out of the house, But then you realize if by not, prepping them for life, they're coming back by being pregnant, having kids, being dipshit. So it's, I let Macy tell her, like, I just don't feel like I think that we could better serve our time to do this, and I'm like, God, I'm so proud of my kid at this time, she's saying these things, and vice principal comes back at me and says a couple things, and I go, let me just ask you a couple real honest questions here to the vice principal, and she goes, yeah. I'm like, are you told when you have to show up to work? She goes, yeah. I'm like, are you told how much vacation time you get a year? Yeah, okay. Are you dictated on how much you get to make? Yeah, and I understand that's for some people, right? Well, that's not my fucking kid. That's why she's debating you right now at 11 years old. If you didn't recognize that, you guys are teaching people wrong. And she just kind of took back and looked at me, and I said, so, I understand that people go by the books, but do you know that the people that are the most wealthiest people in the world took a chance?
Yeah.
And I said,
is this a public school?
Yeah.
Okay.
And I said, it doesn't matter what school it is, but like
curriculum, that's what I'm saying.
Yeah, why don't so the key word is take a chance. What is the worst ththing that's going to happen? You're going to fail until you're 25, 30, 35. People are 50 years old and still fail,
Shit, I was 38 when I got into this business.
Right.
But, it's I saw a thing, God, I think we could probably find it pretty quickly on YouTube too, but this guy interviewed all guys that were multimillionaires or billionaires that all went to college.
Right.
And asked them, do you feel like it's necessary in this day and age to go to college based upon like every single one of them said no.
No,
I
absolutely
don't.
not.
No, I don't, because you make your money on certain things. Now, for me, like, I had a great time in college. It had nothing to do with what I did in my life. So I said to my kids, like, hey, if you want to go to college, because you're lucky enough to go to college, because if you want to just go have fun for 4 years, stick around.
That's what I tell my daughter, same thing.
Just to prolong the fact you got to work.
Right.
Because you're going to work for the rest of your life, then go do that.
Right.
But if you want to go, be a mechanic, guess what? You can start your own garage. And guess what? You can have people working for you, and then you can work 3 hours a week.
That's what I'm trying to build for my kids.
Everybody.
Yeah.
Right? So I agree with that 100%. It comes down to sometimes like you said, it's like, what's their ambition, and can they continue to show that like they're ambitious and they have the right attitude and they're doing everything they can to do, and that they can be dependable and organized enough to get through a class and on their own because their dad's not there to wake them up in the morning or feed them at night or da-da-da-da. Hopefully the younger generation it's more difficult than it is for, I consider us the same generation.
Well, they're soft, bro. They're soft now.
I think discipline for me, discipline is like the biggest value from the college experience.
Yeah, discipline.
Yeah,
that's
I would
kind
agree.
of what I meant. That's what I meant.
Because you got to be structured. You got to pass.
You got to get your own ass out of bed.
Self-starter.
Yeah, and my daughter, thank God, she gets her. She's struggling now. She's a little bit older because she's doing competitive dance 3 times a week and all the other stuff. But here's the best thing where I talk about clear expectations of parenting. Like where I've failed a million. I went to this great event. My buddy Albert Preciado puts it on. It's called the Driven event, and they had the best lineup I've ever seen in my entire. So I flew out there. I was like, I'm going.
Yeah.
Right? And
who was there?
Andy Frisello, Ed Millette, Brad Lee.
Oh, so this is a big
Tim Grover,
the big dogs.
Tim Grover.
Yeah. So these guys, they're it was insane, but they all had one thing in common: create the winning routine, but clear expectations, man.
Yeah.
I think a lot of people say go do this, but there's no. So my daughter, when I first opened my company, I'm still growing and got stress of all this stuff, and told her one day, and I tell people all the time, I said, hey, I need you to take the garbage out today. So I come home, it's 5 o'clock after meetings, and here I go, and I go throw something away, and I'm like, the fucking garbage is not taken out. This little shit. Now I'm thinking, I'm like, here she is watching her TV, flat screen TV in her nice room, and nice things, and doesn't even have, so I have this tone when, my daughter knows she might be in trouble, and I'm like, Macy, get down here. You can see her walking slow, gingerly. She's like, what did I do? Like, I knew anything. I went to school. Everything was fine. Like, nobody called in,
Right.
I come downstairs, and I go, dude, like, hello, you didn't take the trash out. I told you to take the trash out today. And she goes, Dad? And she goes, yeah. Today isn't over. So if that's not raising your kid right to stand for herself. And I looked at her, and I smirked, and I said, God damn, I raised you right. But I think in a lot of times in any business, we're trying to cater to the client. Yeah. When you start learning how to cater for your needs, wants and needs, it'll make, because, you asked me a million times to get on this show, and I told you no. Yep. A couple of them I was just had golf days. Yeah.
Well, that's what you said.
I was playing golf.
Golfing.
Yeah. Wednesdays are my golf days. Today was our anniversary, and I wasn't golfing. I had some meetings set up, so I was like, I can do the 17th. That'll work because we celebrate. And
it was like a 3 month out, by the way.
Yeah. I mean, you are a big deal,
Hey, I'm not that big of a deal. You know that.
We will be after this podcast. John's going to push it out to all his people.
No, dude, that's dude. So, in town here, so is the majority of the guys in Arizona, or guys and girls, women, men of your clients, are they in Arizona or
all over the country?
So it's split evenly all over?
Yeah, I'd say it's about 50-50.
Really?
Yeah.
So when you go on these golf trips with all these buddies, they're clients?
No, just buddies.
Okay, but they're not, they're clients and buddies, or just some of them?
There's one, maybe two, maybe. The rest of them are just buddies. I just met.
Okay.
You know what I mean? It's a great group of guys that, they support you in where you're. I remember when I first started going with them, they were like, God, this guy just goes to bed early. he's up at 4. Like, we're trying to be degenerates, right?
Right.
And then I get to the day where I can, and then by that time they're so gone from being degenerates the first couple of days. And I'm like, let's go, guys. And they're like, dude, we're over it. Right. But they know I'm very routine. And it's been a great group of guys because, my other people, they would try to manipulate you to move to their, it'll be all right, man, you can show up this way. And then these guys are like, give you a hug, bro, I love you, good luck tomorrow, we'll see you tomorrow, like, go kick ass on what you're gonna do, and we'll see it. And then when you show up on the course, how did it go? Are you ready? Like, what did they talk about? Like, and I've never had friends, I had some friends like that, but like the people I thought were friends, they never were that way. It was weird. I was like, am I getting punked right now? Is there like a video that's going to pop out like, hey, motherfucker, we're just kidding. But they ultimately I always tell people, if you get a good tribe, man, people will want you to win. I think people are around other people that don't want people to win. And it can go for the high school people, when they grow up, there's a lot of kids, they don't want them to win. They're trying to mold them so that they don't leave them. Yeah. Right. The people that are always trying to mold people to not chase their dreams. I want all my clients to win. I want them to have their best life. I have people that, we're going to commit suicide. I got people that we're going to lose their house. I got people that are going through divorce. I got people that, have problem with their kids. I got people that have finances. And you know what? They realize if they built the winning routine and they realize I'm a relatable person, I've been through a lot of shit, that they're like, dude, at the end of the day, like, I'm dictating the win. Yeah. Yep. I mean, and that's where people say, what makes you successful? And I said that, dude, my clients win, I win. Yeah. And I think a lot of people
they know that though, right?
They know that, dude. So I love to make my clients win, man. So
nice. We got one more rapid fire before we wrap it?
Sure. I'll pull one up.
Can I ask him it?
Yeah.
What's your favorite word?
Other than fuck.
Trisha. Golly.
Jeez. Language. Oh, man. My favorite word. Dad.
Oh, damn, John. Coming in strong today. That's a good one, man.
Because my kid changed my life.
Yeah.
And then the other two changed my life. They all have a different meaning in my life and they were all different season, as you would say.
Yeah.
Dad. I would say dad, because they're my legacy.
That's awesome, dude.
I mean, they mean everything to me.
Well, dude, that about wraps it up. But I'm going to tell you what, man, I knew this was going to be a good one, but Dude, it was a really good one. You brought some really heat today, and sweetness too. By the way,
yeah, I'm sweet, Daryl.
But it's true. There's a lot of really cool things in this podcast. I think for a lot of people to understand about you that I already knew, but also just from the business standpoint, you speak very eloquently. That's why you're very good at your job. Dude, a lot of things for people out there to understand. So thanks a lot for coming, dude. So how did they get a hold of you?
And just find me on social media. All my contacts.
Jon Storey.
There.
He's there. He's everywhere.
Website's there. Everything's there. YouTube. Yep. I mean, they can just anything they want to know about me is going to be there. Find me on Facebook or Instagram. Cool.
If you guys need a coach out there, or you want to learn how to run your business, especially in real estate, but other things as well, this is your guy, Jon Storey. Thank you so much. Thank you, VIP Mortgage, for letting us have this awesome space. Trey, you're quiet but deadly over there. Trish, great job. Thank you for pushing us to get Jon on here, because I'm not pleasantly surprised. I'm just happy. Everybody check us out on social media. Like Jon says, go to YouTube, because this is on YouTube. We do video and audio. So Real Talk with Ryan Madrid. Like and subscribe. Ring the bell so you know when we have new episodes coming up. We're going to have a lot more content now, because Jon's going to push us to do that, because he just made me, my mind's spinning right now, how many things we could do better. And on all the podcast platforms out there, Spotify, Apple Podcast,
Google Podcasts.
Yeah. So LinkedIn, Instagram, Facebook, Real Talk with Ryan Madrid. You guys, we need you guys to like and share this stuff, please. If you like the content, please watch it all. We need your support. So that's how we can do this and pay for this. So, all right, everybody. Thank you so much. See you next time.
Later.
VIP Mortgage Incorporated does business in accordance with the Federal Fair Lending Laws, NMLS ID 145502. For state-specific licensing, please visit www.vipmtginc.com/national-licenses/. VIP is not acting on behalf of or at the direction of the FHA, HUD, or the federal government. VIP is an equal housing lender.